Meeting 6:00 p.m. Mr. Stevens, take attendance.
Sure. Mrs. Whited is absent. Mr. White?
Here.
Ms. Sarka?
Here.
Ms. Donnelly?
Here.
Mr. Daniels?
Here.
And we have student board member Fiona Chang.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. What's that? Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stand here for review.
Well, first, ask if we have any public comment.
Okay. Do we have any public comments?
I do.
Okay.
Scott Emerson, Social Studies Department Chair, Board of Junior Senior High School. I usually sit over here kind of quiet, but tonight I feel compelled to discuss three quick things. First of all, I'd like to thank the board, Dr. Stevens, Mrs. Webster, and the entire administrative team for the proactive approach that we just saw across the hallway in regards to school and student and staff safety. I've been here now, it's my 34th year, so over a third of a century. I had always hoped that we weren't going to get to a point where we needed some of the metal detector type stuff, but the world is different now. And I do like the fact that the board, and again, the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and all the administrators are ahead of this, just like they were ahead on the yonder pouches a couple of years ago. It's always better to be proactive than to say what we should have done. So thank you all for doing that and keeping, number one, the students safe, but of course, all of us safe as well. So appreciate that. And then personally, I'd like to congratulate Ms. Sowick on her being named assistant principal this evening, soon. And real briefly, I'd like to talk about somebody else on your agenda tonight, and that is Mr. Faust. Mr. Faust started here probably 18, 19 years ago, I think, as a teacher assistant. In fact, he was one of my teacher assistants. He then moved up the ranks to be an English teacher, and then he served in pretty much every administrative position the district has had, from assistant principal at the elementary school, assistant principal here at the high school, athletic chair, and tonight he's going to be named as interim principal here at Waterloo Junior Senior High School. Just wanted to say to the board and everyone that he has my 100% support. It is nice when we grow from within. And again, Mr. Faust started as teacher assistant and has moved up and has shown himself in an incredible manner. And I congratulate him and congratulate you on giving him the opportunity that you're about to receive. So thank you and congratulations to Mr. Faust. That's it.
Thanks, Scott.
Now, we turn it over to Dr. Stevens.
We're actually going to go see it next. I didn't turn the page quick enough.
I am the superintendent's report.
You are going to get the first part of my report.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me this evening. First and foremost, I apologize for the street clothes. I actually have another change of clothes in my car today. I took home this morning. But hopefully I can get away with it. So I appreciate that. So I'm going to give a brief high-level overview of a proposed capital project that we've been working on for some time now. And I'm going to go through a lot of information that may seem like a lot of information. I'll remind you that it's high level right now. There's a lot of detail behind the scenes that we've talked about that are not etched in stone in any way, shape, or form right now. Dr. Stevens is going to elaborate on a couple of the slides. I'll try to get through it all, and then we'll take some Q&A if you'd like. So, let me start with how we got here. Let me introduce myself. I'm sorry. Scott Wolf with CSR, your district's architect, engineering, and construction management firm. I've been around a long time. And, from the additions over at the elementary school that are there now, to the field you see out in front of you, the renovations and additions on this building, from top to bottom. Mr. Costa's seen me here as long as he's been here. So, just talking about the planning process and how we got here. We're going to talk about the proposed improvements themselves, and we're going to talk about the project schedule, what it looks like. The planning process begins with identifying needs. Okay, we have every 5 years, the state education department requires every public school district to go through what they call a building condition survey. It kind of takes it has to be done by an architect and engineering firm, which the state reimburses the district for. It kind of gives them a peek at what kind of things are being taken care of as time goes on through the review of various projects, or what things might need to be pointed out to not be deferred any longer. Every time you submit a project for approval, permitting, they use that as kind of back of house information. So we have done that most recently 5 years ago. It's due to be renewed this year. We have our staff touring the buildings this summer, assimilating information, and that information will be collated and uploaded to their portal when it is made available at the beginning of the year. So it's going to be called the 2025 Building Condition Survey. Coupled with that, we identify the spatial needs and the program needs. We know that the district, in conjunction with the neighboring district, have gone through some changes and are going to go through some changes. So that was an easy thing to put on top of the plate for sorting out how to handle that. As well as things that have historically changed. A program that might have been very important 5 years ago has taken it back to see something else that is more mainstream currently. So, regular recurring meetings with key stakeholders to understand the district vision for the future programming and spatial needs. Hold regular meetings. We've been meeting almost every 2 weeks for a couple of years at this point to have these discussions. Some of them in the weeds, some of them very high level. We reviewed the building condition survey, as I mentioned. We discussed and prioritized the scope. We balance those needs with potential financial impact. You can't get everything all at once, otherwise everybody would be doing $100 million projects all the time. It's just not palatable. And then we'll ultimately make a final recommendation for proposed capital project based on that balance of needs and financial ability. So, the proposed improvements are categorized in 5 different categories. So I'll go through this very quickly. Academics and program being one of the top 2, health and safety the other of the top 2. We talk about infrastructure. You're building the bones, the shell, the envelope itself, the mechanical network within, physical education and athletics, the spatial and physical amenities, as well as site work. Site work is its own category governed by the state education department. They view site work as incidental to a project. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. So just running through some bulleted items under academic program in that category, starting with the elementary school, we're looking at providing a building addition for 2 pre-K classrooms. And I have some graphics to go along with these. I'll share. We're going to renovate and reconfigure the 10th Avenue lobby and the adjacent office suite, the main office area. Provide a multi-purpose room, which is built out of a infill of the lobby. So it would be a second floor area. Includes some project-based learning amenities in renovation areas. There's some sciencey kind of things and apparatus that have been talked about being added and included. Provide dedicated space for a school store. Upgrade furnishings here and there and to outfit new building areas. And provided possibly an outdoor classroom teaching space. Just to supplement this, here's a graphical representation of discussions to date showing 2 pre-K classrooms and adjacent offices. The playground would need to be relocated to accommodate that. We would improve the entry and drop-off area coming into the parking lot as
jump into that. Yeah. So this is kind of important because currently one of our EPK classrooms is housed at Achievement outside of the district, which is great. We love working with them as a collaborator, but it would be nice to have all of our pre-K in the same location within the Parks district. So this allows for us to bring an EPK classroom that we currently have here and the potential to look at expanding that maybe 2 EPK classrooms or a 5th UPK classroom, depending on what the needs are at the time for the district, to be able to have that available to the students.
Just so I'm understanding that now correctly, I can see the 4 of what used to be kindergarten classrooms.
Now they're,
The
now
hallway
they're,
that's up to the right is going toward the lobby where parents come in.
yes,
So where the playground is now is where these 2 classrooms and offices are.
yes. Yep.
And then pre-K would drop off at that door, or you don't have that.
Well, too far ahead, but yeah, potentially, if they could, if we had enough time and we knew that they could come in that door, yeah.
Yeah, this is a preliminary or a conceptual layout. Okay, we really can get into those weeds. It's a slippery slope. Very easy to get into those weeds. I will remind you that there's a lot of thought that has to go into this before that's again etched in stone. I should go back just a moment though to piggyback on Dr. Stevens' comments that we have gone through preliminary plan submissions to the State Education Department, which is a prerequisite to them, so that they can see that you're able to justify the need. Okay, for example, that reason right there about, okay, we're gonna have more than one off-site, we wanna get them on-site collectively, that was a supporting element in that. As well as an updated demographic study that's been performed to justify the needs that we're talking about.
Yeah, our enrollment study shows live birth data and the number of students who have children that are being born to help identify that this is something that the district could look at. In addition, just this year, SED has allowed for building aid to be calculated for building pre-K space. Previously, that was not an allowable expense. Now they see the benefit of pre-K, and now that is an allowable building expense.
It's out there, you gotta go after it though. It was by default K-12, now it's PK-12.
So this is our opportunity. If we're going to expand anything, this is our time to do it.
Great comments and questions. Here's just a graphical representation of the main office suite, slightly reorganized, reconfigured for different workflow, different uses. Here is a couple images to the left of the existing open lobby, 2 stories, and a concept of how that infilled floor would be utilized as a upper level floor. You hear me say concept a lot. Remind people this is just conceptual. Okay.
The 3rd or 4th concept that we've gone through.
That's very true. That's very true. We have used the time in recent weeks and months wisely and vetted a lot of options. So these are kind of distilled down already, but they're yet right for review by the entire district and make sure it meets all the needs. It's kind of like Monopoly. We got to get past go before we can really get into the game. So a lot of this is preliminary. At the junior senior high school, we're also talking about a 2-story building addition. It would be comprised 2 towers of 2 classrooms, total of 4 on the far end of where we built an addition last time. The growth needs can demonstrate that it is substantiated. Provide a new library and media center. This is probably the coolest part of it, in my personal opinion, and I'll get into that in just a moment. Provide retractable seating in the multipurpose room, aka a small gym. Renovations at the nurses area and the Moody Health Clinic area. Renovations of the FACS classroom up on the top floor that has been ignored for a couple of projects, unfortunately. I shouldn't say ignored, but turned into a lesser priority over time. We're going to see to it that we tackle that area. Renovations at the prayer and sensory room. Upgrade technology and equipment at the Security Command Center. I know that you just had a very informative session across the hall. We're looking to marry those elements together and really have control of the building, a greater level of control of the building at the front office area. Okay? It needs to be the point and the only point where people are coming and going on a regular basis. Improvements to the secure to accommodate weapons detection. I know you're going to deploy them now, but that we're going to have some time here. I'll talk about the time in just a moment to see how that layout works for you, see if any adjustments need to be made, and in between now and then, see if adjustments will have to be incorporated into the design.
That would be, instead of using the lobby, right now, we can't put the weapon detection system between the doors because it's too close to the metal from the doors. It's got to be 5 feet away from both. So they will be housed as you come into that main lobby. But there could be the potential, if we wanted, to extend the size of our lobby so that it was done inside the lobby. And that way, if something was found, they are not in the building yet. We just don't have the space currently to do that, so this is a step in the direction. But there's the potential to do some renovations in that area if we needed to. And you'll see in a minute why that's going to be possible with another addition that we're doing.
That's right. In the last few bullets, renovations to the basement level locker rooms and athletic offices, team rooms, that area. That's just a big statement. There's a lot that can and should be done down there. Upgrade furniture, again, just like the other building where we have additions and new spaces. Here's the graphical representation that I say a picture's worth 1,000 words, so hopefully your mind can take you there. On the left is the proposed 2-story classroom addition. It would ultimately provide 4 classrooms. On the right, I know it's noted there, proposed covered entry, library addition above, and then presto, on the second floor, that gives you a view of what that looks like from a floor plan perspective.
So essentially, the library would sit above the current lobby and hang out over the vestibule and entrance area. It would allow for there to be coverage over that open area as students are coming up where the flagpole is. But it would also give this cool academic look to the front of the building that has a giant gym protruding out towards the parking lot. Now it will also have a glass enclosed library that's looking out on the parking lot. Much more user-friendly and accessible than on the 3rd floor. That staff are out of breath by the time they come to the 3rd floor. Sorry.
You got ahead of me. No, got it. Okay. Just a quick plan view of what those classrooms could look like relative to their adjacency to the stair tower without having to provide yet another stair tower. There are limitations on distance. So this is a larger view of that library addition, proposed library addition. Up to the right, you see a shaded red box kind of along down the front of the building. That represents the area in which we see this addition being constructed. So as the curved roof comes down over the small lobby roof now, you would have to be integrated into there, and we would go as far right as we can without interfering with the Art Deco historical features of the building to face the parking lot. And then it would be a lot of glass, it would overlook the parking lot, it would be a cool focal point as you approach the building. And it would bring a sense of where the true entrance is and where the command of the building starts when you're a visitor.
Scott, does it block all those windows for the classroom?
Some of them are repurposed, yes.
Well, we're
A little too
lose
early to
it.
tell.
We're going to lose a classroom.
Yes.
So 200 would be lost.
Yeah, right here, you'll see the one classroom that resides here now, that would be absorbed into other space. But let me go just a little further.
You have the next slide.
Yeah. Do I have the next slide?
Yeah.
So this is the library.
Yes, we would refit the existing library space into 3 classroom areas and a couple of breakout rooms. Okay. In fact, you asked about windows. There's a window issue here, both the secondary egress, so we're limited to a little bit smaller room, 732 square feet scaled there, as opposed to 770, which is your standard classroom. Hence the jog here to keep this window associated with that room. Things like that come into play. Okay, health and safety. We had known about this for a little while, and it is a priority to include upgrading the existing electrical service at the elementary school. That building was a commercial building originally, and it has posed several challenges for renovating it and adding to it over the years. We've actually done a dedicated electrical study on that building a few years ago before we added the standby generator over there. We just can't afford to kick that down the road any further. It needs to be done. And it'll net for cleaner power, which I know you like, right? Replace the original, the remaining original vintage water fountains. We did replace several of them, both buildings in the last project. There's still a few over there, 2 or 3 that we know of that need to be upgraded. Provide an upgrade to the alarm system, specifically the kindergarten wing, which was not upgraded the last time the fire alarm was touched in that building, because it was, at that time, newer vintage. It's no longer newer. Replace remaining aged mechanical equipment at the oldest gymnasium. There's 1 pair of air handlers over there that are original to that space that we just couldn't find the funds in the past project to grapple with. We made sure they were running properly, but they are old. High school. Okay, replace mechanical equipment at the basement level, wrestling room area, everything associated with the renovation at the basement level. We updated mechanical equipment. Everything that's down there is vintage, original to the vintages of when they were last serving pupils down there, including the old kitchen area. Right? So we also have to replace an aged domestic hot water tank or tanks. Just because of their age, there's a likelihood that they're going to fail in the near future, only because of their age. Water, steel, they only have a certain amount of lifetime to them. They're fairly dated, and they've been identified in previous building condition surveys. Last project, we elected to provide some upgrades to the heating equipment as opposed to that domestic water equipment. They can pick and choose what the greater priority was at the time. It's their turn now. From the building condition survey, replace 2 existing infrared roll heaters. That was an item that had been identified previously, so we're including that for the time being. Talking about infrastructure at the elementary school. Replace carpet, circulation desk, some cabinetry at the library. Provide a dedicated kitchen storage room for dry goods as opposed to the cage. Replace window screens in kindergarten classrooms. There's been issues of bees getting in and things of that nature, right? Replace the roof in the kindergarten wing. It has outlived its useful life and been patched up and band-aided a couple of times now. We're looking at a long-term solution. If you recall, 2 years ago, we replaced the entire rest of the building roof. That way we did not, so that now it's turn. Replace hand washing sink at the kitchen, provide new exterior water connections, hose bibs for watering outside as necessary, and provide some EV charging at the parking lot. We are not defining what that is. That statement will hold on every building. That's a whole discussion for you folks to have. But we know that EVs are here. They're not going away anytime soon. And most districts are putting in some capacity, some service, and some sort. At the high school, renovate the first floor men's and women's bathrooms and replace the toilet partitions at all 3 levels in the bathrooms. They are a high use area. They wind up having a shorter lifespan than some other building elements. They take more of a beating, as you can imagine. Replace side curtain panels at the gymnasium bleachers. A couple of failures there, or they're getting beaten and broken and need to be updated for safety and efficiency of the use of the bleachers. Upgrade the balance of interior lighting to efficient LEDs. There's been here and there upgrades in the building over time, so we'd like to complete that task. Replace the hot water storage tank in the boiler room. Again, same scenario with domestic water. New boilers. We still have an old storage tank down there. Electrical parking or electrical EV charging at the parking lot. Excuse me. Same statement. It's yet to be defined. And provide theatrical lighting upgrades at the auditorium. I know we want to, and that's a broad statement, but replace the performance lighting at the stage and the control board that would go along with that, and actually create more of a control booth environment by repurposing and greater utilization of the balcony area for that. So it's a pretty lofty item to take care of, but with all the renovations we did to the auditorium several years ago, it's like the last thing that really needs to be touched.
I'm just careful.
The house is didn't mention that the other day. replace select doors and hardware. There's a few doors on the building that have been beaten or broken or just don't work right since the last project was concluded. As many people are aware, we do a lot of door and hardware work in every project. This is just some more of the same, but it seems to be a little bit lesser in volume. Okay, the bus garage also needs to have existing trench drains replaced because they're deteriorating. Maybe. Hence bullet 2. Construct a new bus garage, including an office and a bathroom. Now, it's not looking, we're not trying to define a Taj Mahal building here, but we're going to talk a little bit in depth about the concept of constructing a new bus facility and why. And again, provide EV charging for multiple purposes. So, relative to the comment of building a new bus garage, we have identified that the street in the cul-de-sac down here on the corner, we're actually having that all resurveyed right now, adjacent to the practice fields. We have some opportunity there to consider a bus garage without displacing the practice fields. That would be to house 1 to 2 buses for general maintenance and cleaning, not necessarily for parking everything in overnight. The state education department will no longer aid bus garages for storage. So this would be a service facility as opposed to a storage facility, just by term. Okay. If you're going to have somebody there being a dispatcher or a cleaner, they have to have facilities, obviously, so there'd be a toilet room there and a small office. So we're exploring what that building magnitude would be. And then if everything panned out, we would have a new electrical service there to serve that building, and hence we could more easily provide EV charging for buses and or pedestrian vehicles.
TBD. We know that EV is still in docket. Cannot order any more buses after 27 currently. Have to have a full EV fleet by 35. We'll see what happens with the legislature. And you noticed that picture because we had previously spoke about property that was for sale adjacent to where that location is. Another offer has been made for that property. More coming if we get back from the summer.
That other property is right here on the other side of the street from what we're considering.
Yep.
So we have 2 or 3 different concepts of what could happen there, whether the district did acquire the property and or did not acquire the property. Moving on to phys ed and athletics, refinish the wooden floor of the gymnasium in the high school. I'm sorry, the elementary school. Same thing in the high school. However, there's been some desire to explore replacing the perimeter rubber flooring in the run-out space. Back when the old basketball goals were pulled on and off the court in the end, they tended to tear it up just a little bit. We added those thresholds down there, those plates, to mitigate that issue a couple of years ago. Seems to have worked well in the meantime. Maybe it stays, and we just update the rubber floor. There's several new products out there, so we're going to look at that. Outside, resurface the running track and the tennis courts. This was a case of build it and they will come. Everybody loves this field, including my district. Mr. Faust knows that. The longevity of the field and track come hand in hand with maintenance. The synthetic surface on that track is subject to UV degradation and use over time. We're seeing them need to be recoated anywhere from 12 to 15 years out. Same kind of thing with the longevity of the carpet on the field. General maintenance and rejuvenation practices can prolong that by a few years. But we have budgeted for these things in this project because it's in great shape. We want to keep it in great shape. And there is a small settlement over in Turn 2 against that back corner there that we need to address. It showed itself, I don't know, about 4 years after it was built. Small area that we can remediate during this process.
And the tennis courts, we're going to actually add a turnstile, so every time that people that don't live in Walkley come to play tennis or pickleball on the court, they'll have to pay in order to get in. So I'm kidding. But I am upset when they park in my parking spot.
Which won't be there.
which won't be there because that'll be a classroom, right?
I'm here for you.
Okay, site work at the elementary school. Relocate the pre-K or the current kindergarten playground as necessary to accommodate the pre-K additions that we already talked about. Provide parking and sidewalk at the 10th Avenue parking green space. The circular part of the drive in front of the main door. We're going to have some no detail parking spots there. I think we counted at like 8 or 9 in that space. And along 25th Street, there's one last space of green, but we all know how packed that parking lot is. The greater good is to add a few more parking spaces, especially with the additional volume of people coming to pre-K for drop-off and pick-up. So we feel that we can add a dozen or so more parking spaces along there. Provide a rubber play surface at the playground, regrade and landscape. It's still being considered, but there are some alternative materials as opposed to the bark mulch that washes into the catch basins every time it floods and rains. So we're evaluating what the best solution there is. So again, it's a task. We don't have the solution determined yet. Here at the high school, repave, reconstruct the parking lot, including doing something with the drainage swales, whether they're guards or they're infill, they become a impervious drainage system of some sort. Provide improvements at the practice fields. As I said, I just talked about proposed bus garage. There are some improvements that can be made over there, including a walkway, clearly designated walkway to continue the path that goes across into the other fields, towards the tracks. Because we're aware of kids crossing the tracks and coming through there on their own anyways. So providing something that's identified as this is where you need to be, making it a little safer with light and observational points, is part of the deal. At the bus garage, provide some additional parking for the minibuses. Is this supposed to be done?
Yes. It's already done.
You just paid there, like a couple weeks ago. Okay, scratch that. I've been working on this PowerPoint for a couple weeks. Schedule. So right now, what the next steps would be, we're in what we call the pre-referendum phase. The referendum is ultimately your vote. We finalize the scope items relative to budget, and we begin at what we call the SECRA process, State Environmental Quality Review Act. That's what that acronym stands for. And it's a bit of a process depending on the classification of work you're doing. And in this case, we do have the longer of two processes involved because we're putting additions up. So we've authorized our consultant to start moving forward with that process so that it is resolved and in hand in time for a proposed vote. To that end, the board would need to adopt a resolution to vote in hand at the same time in October, being a minimum of 45 days in advance of the vote action, having those secret actions acknowledged as well in another referendum. So we'll do the legwork on it. Council will prepare the resolutions and then be presented to the board for potential action. That would land you into December of this year for a vote. That's the timeline that we've been wrestling with. Dr. Stevens will elaborate just a little bit about how that parlays to the fiscal perspective from your fiscal consultant. But I'll talk first about post-referendum. Okay, you have to hold the vote in December. It passes. We're all happy for it. That's a great thing. The project, as I just showed you, is fairly large to try to fast track. So we're proposing breaking it into 2 phases, only because the work here at the high school is a little more complex than the work at the elementary school from a design standpoint, from our perspective. So for discussion purposes only, we're going to call phase 1 the elementary school work, phase 2 the high school work, and indoor bus garage if there is one. So this is what that would look like if we break it into 2 phases, with some overlap, not a ton. It would take us into January of 26, approximately from January 26 to September, so approximately 9 months for that design work to be completed. If history tells us anything, we need to plan for approximately 3 months of review time at the State Education Department. That's what SED stands for. In recent weeks, if you ask people that are in the know, they will say that they picked up speed on things. Well, that's true. but the backlog at the moment is less than what it usually is at the end of the calendar year. Everybody tries to rush to get those projects in. Next thing you know, that review time over the winter gets backlogged again. This would allow us to bid and award contracts for construction, potentially December, January timeframe, with construction being spring of 27 through December of 28, based on what we had shown you earlier. Phase 2 design would have some overlap in the start of it, and then it should be ready for submission to the state education department before the end of the school year. That's why it's shown May of 27, the next school year. The SED review time again, about 2 to 3 months on average right now, allowing us to bid and award contracts at the end of summer, beginning of fall, so we can start with a fall start of construction. Building additions, we can start on those then, because they don't exist, they're not occupied, right? And we figure out how to go about that construction process safely while school's in session. Rather than waiting until summer the next year, and we're already behind by 6 months.
So essentially, don't look for new buildings anytime soon. It's going to take some time. This year is about designing, holding a vote so that we can get the residents' approval that this is the path forward. So that's really what's happening this year with SED approval and getting shovels on the ground, hopefully the year out.
Right. Yeah. So and that's really the impetus of showing you this, as to don't look for your new building additions immediately, because it takes some time to get to that point. It's not just simply because it takes our office to one time to draw them or anything like that. It's a process as a whole. So financing. Right now, the estimated project cost amasses to $27,500,000, broken down as you see it in front of you. That includes construction costs, escalation factors. If anybody's crystal ball works better than mine, please tell me. The projected timeline that it's going to need to be carried, that we just described. It also carries a category called incidentals. Incidentals are made up of the incidental costs of a project. Professional fees, legal fees, financing, bond counsel, legal counsel, the interest associated with any borrowing, independent third-party inspections and testing that are largely a requisite of New York State in the commercial building business. There's something called a statement of special inspections associated with every one of these project plans that requires that third-party entity to follow their QA process. And that's above and beyond the project management, the construction management, the architect's design, etc. Furniture and site work. I mentioned earlier that site work is incidental to a project. So site work, the cost of any site work resides in the incidental expenditure column when it comes to cost report for all these projects. We factored in as a hard cost, as a construction-related cost. When it comes to the accounting component of it, it's categorized as an incidental. The good news, everybody's seeing that number and they're like, oh man, right? This district receives one of the highest aid ratios in the state. Has historically. I'm glad we're still finding that out, right? As such, there's a couple of slides that contain a lot of minutia equate to no additional incremental taxpayer impact over the course of design and financing and execution of this project.
Right. So it's crazy for us not to capitalize on 97%, state aid for building. So that's important for the next one.
I didn't include the other one.
So with that, know that everything of that 27 million is not beautiful. So there are factors that do not get state aid. So we wouldn't get 96% back on those things. Like what is it, like some of the renovation of what's not aidable? It's like $8 million of that.
$8 million of it.
Necessarily
That's right.
aidable.
Because we had limited building aid units on the additions, right?
True.
Because the state doesn't, right now the state's really focused on repurposing buildings. They'd rather build AD all day long at that higher rate for renovation, rather than build new additions. That's why they really force you to go through a hard process of justification, number one, and then, okay, you can justify it, great. Well, then there's what's called BAUs, or building aid units, and it's a dollar amount per pupil per exposure for the type of space it is, okay? And it's not in your favor, because if it's something really glossy and shiny and not necessary, they want you to pay for it out of your pocket, okay? So that's what's called, having to leverage it onto the local share. Taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill. If you go to some of your larger districts who have some grandiose thing, whatever it is, they didn't receive aid on it. Okay, they paid for it out of pocket, let's say. The aidability component of it is relative to classroom space. Okay, PE spaces. PE is part of the curriculum. The site work can be considered non-aidable unless it's coupled with a project. For example, I would not recommend not doing anything with the sidewalk or the parking lot, do this project, and then go out to do a project just for the parking lot a couple years later, because you won't receive aid on it. They dovetail that with the building aid component of it. It's a very complex formula. The rationale that the fiscal advisor has provided to date is that roughly $8 million of non-aidable work is offset by the longevity of the borrowing compared to retiring debt. There'll be other debt coming off the books, how that backfills the books from it. He's got graphs and stuff like that.
And we've talked about this. We've been planning for this bubble that we're currently in. Well, this debt that we're going to assume would come after that bubble has subsided and would help us level off. Schools want to make sure that they carry a certain amount of debt. We want a nice straight line so that we can include the same amount of money in our budget every year with an expectation of $1 million in debt payment to pay for projects such as what we're discussing tonight. So financially, this is the right time to be doing the $20+ million project so that we can maintain that level of debt into the future. So we don't have another one of those bubbles, but we're in crisis and we need to shell out a lot of money to get to where we need to go. In addition, we've done a good job of moving some of our fund balance into, if you remember last year, we created a capital reserve for this incident. We'll have some money to offset that cost of $8 million so that we can make sure that it's not going to impact the district more than what we want to plan for. Again, lots more to come. This is kind of preliminary. We want to make sure that we get this in front of you so that as we go the next couple months, we're ready to adopt a referendum in October and send it to the public to vote in December.
So any Q&A relative to subject matter? Did I share? I know it's a lot to comprehend in the first showing. That's fine. And it's exactly our intent, was to give you the glossed over version, get you thinking about it, and come back with questions.
Yeah. And because our financial advisor just got back to us, I think yesterday, we just told Burton, write a note so that we can make sure we share this presentation with you. So you'll have the slides in front of you and you can review it and let me know if you have any additional questions.
Yeah, there's one slide that shows the debt curve where the debt falls off and replenishing it to ultimately try to hold a level line over time, right? So if graphical references are your thing, that should help. Any other questions? Comments? You've been along for the ride, a bit longer. All good?
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Okay, moving on.
So I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. I thank all of you for attending tonight. I think tonight's forum was important. I think that more important was the feedback and our dialogue that we had in our retreat earlier, a few weeks ago, with our attorney. And I think that this was our positive momentum in the right direction of keeping students and staff safe. So thank you for your attendance. Thank you for being part of the problem and the solution process that we have.
Are those slides gonna be on the website or
Which
available?
slides?
The ones that you,
And I did, they most certainly are. Drew's gonna work on a new little spot to put them on with her Q and As that she worked on today as well. Yes.
I think there was one parent question in that form related to communication with the kids.
The kids,
I
yeah.
think that's kind of an important aspect, and especially the sixth graders coming into the building who are already very nervous and now have to deal with this too. And obviously we don't have a positive spin on it, but we probably should not assume that parents are going to have those conversations and maybe be a little proactive with that.
Well, don't we do, I'm sorry, did I say something? Don't we do an ori? Is it okay?
Yes.
Dr. Stevens, answer me please, yes? Okay, don't we do an orientation with the sixth graders the day before school starts?
You do.
So that would be a perfect opportunity
Show
to
them
take
what it's like.
advantage
Yeah.
of stressing all of these things.
Okay.
Am I correct?
We also have one the week before with all of the new students
Yes.
that are 7 through 12 that are coming in. Just, we separate them just because the number of kids, so we'll go through both of that.
And then obviously the
Yeah.
assemblies at the beginning of the year, right? So like
Yeah.
you can talk
Yeah.
about what can't go through
Yeah.
and all that.
Especially with the green eye parents just coming over.
Right.
District.
right,
And I mean, the binders
time.
obviously are concerned, so they're on every school supply list as we
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah.
And Bryce went and purchased a big trapper keeper because he cannot possibly carry 5 binders, so that's gonna
We-
require an unzipping and.
We talked about that, and, timing is everything, right? If we knew we would be in this place where we are now,
School supply list.
3 or 4 months ago, then we would have talked to staff about what can we do without having kids bring 3-ring binders in? And that's great for us to think about going forward,
And I
so that
think
we
you're
can
right,
adjust what that
they
is,
won't be bringing them home all the time.
Some
Right.
of the schools at the training, we had the ability to watch videos from other schools. And some of the other schools had some really neat ideas about how you can get students to take out their materials and pass them to, the Mrs. Webster in the video, like wearing your book bag in front when you get out of the car or off the bus instead of in the back, so that you have that.
Everything at your disposal to pull out.
And then some other things. So we were thinking of making another video. This time I'll do my hair
With kids,
with
and let the
kids.
kids be the ones
modeling.
to show how to walk through, and that it's not a big deal.
Ms. Donnelly, I also had some communications going home to the sixth grade families and parents beforehand to ease some of those concerns as well.
Okay, I'd like to turn the rest of my time though and introduce our potential new assistant principal, who is with us tonight. Just a brief introduction of who she is, just so that you all can put a name with a face. I know Mary Beth sat on her interview when she interviewed for a role last year. So she was the board rep that supported this, but I wanted to make sure that you all have an opportunity to say hi to her tonight as well. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot.
No, that's okay. And I apologize if you can't see me. Hi, my name is Emily. So it's very nice to meet you guys. I'm a 20-year educator. Most of my experience is at the junior and high school level. I was a global studies 10 teacher for roughly 16 years. I became an administrator at St. Ed Institute roughly 4 years ago. I've been a principal. I've been an assistant principal. I have a lot of experience with managing challenging behaviors, helping kids through exactly what you're talking about, being overwhelmed and struggling in those situations. I come with a tremendous amount of experience with supporting students. I chose to step back down into an assistant principal role because I really like working so directly with kids, and I like helping kids, surmount those challenges that they feel, whether it's academic challenges, social emotional challenges, any kind of support that I can provide students. That's really where I want to be in my career right now. So please let me know if you have any questions, but it's really nice to meet you all. And I really, really look forward to becoming part of this wonderful team. They impressed me last year, and it's really nice to be back.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Another thank you to the administrators. We give them the summer off, but many of them are here supporting us both at the forum and then at the board meeting tonight. So thank you to them. We are all in full gear for September, moving as quickly as possible. Summer school ends this week. Regions for August are next Tuesday and Wednesday. Some communication you might have gotten about transportation. If you haven't, it's going out about what that looks like for next week if you have any kids taking regions. But we're hoping to wrap that up as quick as possible so that we can gear up for September, opening day, first couple days with staff, making sure that everybody's ready for students and starting them on the 4th. That's about it. That was trying to get out here with something.
Okay, next one is Dennis. Yeah. Fiona is our student representative. If you'd like to say anything.
I don't really have anything to say. I'm a senior here. I've been here since 8th grade, and we enjoyed it part of this term. So I just wanted to go back and forth.
Nice having you here.
Thank you. I feel really awkward.
No worries. Mr. Emerson's going to work with you the rest of this year to make sure you guys know what you need to do and have some reports. But we wanted to include you if you are around, and I think that this is a great opportunity for you to see a board meeting in action, right?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Committee reports? No water.
No water committee, policy committee?
So, on August 1st, the policy committee accepted the readings of the policies that are listed on tonight's agenda.
Okay. First reading of the new policy, use of metal detectors. Second reading, maximum temperature for school buildings and indoor facilities. Use of internet-enabled devices during the school day. Revised policies, students with life-threatening health conditions and or anaphylaxis wellness program. That's about it.
That's not it. And then now you're going to enter a public hearing
Public hearing,
for the district safety.
district safety. Okay.
I'm sure everyone has comments to share about the district safety plan. Okay, can you close the public hearing?
Can we close the public hearing now?
Yes.
Great job.
Perfect. And now for discussion, if anybody has anything to share.
Anyone on the board have anything to share?
You're just going to note that the code of conduct is on the website. If anyone has any comments, we'll discuss it at the next board meeting.
Okay, the code of conduct has been uploaded to the district website and will be available for public review on the website or in person for 30 days. The public hearing will be held at the September Board of Education meeting. If the public has any comments, they can also email them to the email below.
You didn't want to read?
Okay.
I agree with that.
Can I have a motion for consent agenda 1 through 11 and 14 through 16 and 18 through 26 and 28 through 57? Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Anything on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed.
Thank you. Oops, oh, sorry.
Resolved that upon the recommendations of the superintendent, that the board approve the appointment of Michael Faust to the position of interim principal in the tenure area of administration at the Waterville Junior Senior High School beginning August 1st, 2025, at a stipend of $10,000 for a WAA contract.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Anything on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. Congratulations, Mr. Faust.
Thank you.
And number 13, resolve upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the board approve the probationary appointment of Emily Soick to the position of assistant principal in the tenure area of administration for the Warren Fleet City School District, beginning August 25th, 2025, at a salary of $97,500 for WAA contract. The probationary period will expire on August 25th, 2029, contingent upon satisfactory compliance with education law sections 3012 and or 3012D. Emily Soick holds a school building leader certificate with the number below. Can I have a motion? Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Anything on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, number 17, resolve upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the board approve. Oh, to postpone number 17 indefinitely, which is number 17. Take a motion,
Make a motion.
take it a second.
I'll second.
Anything on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. One more. Okay. Mrs. Jones has retired from the district. We resolve the board to approve the payments of unused sick and vacation leave in the amount of $7,388.16 and $9,078 respectively to Danny Jones upon her retirement from the Warren Fleet City School District, effective June 30th, 2025, per Article C here of the employee benefits document for management confidential employees submitted by TI's business manager as recommended by the superintendent. Can I have a motion? Can someone second, please?
Second.
Anything on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. Okay, I ask for a motion to adjourn at 7 p.m.
I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Anything on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed.
Lay back down a little.
What?